What's up, soul fairies? This is Shello the Fashion Fairy. So if you want to learn how I made this, please keep watching and see you in my tutorial. If this is your first time, please subscribe, and if you're returning, I love you for coming back. Hey soul fairies, and welcome to class. So these are the measurements we'll be needing to make this top, so do well to measure yourself and make sure you have an accurate measurement before you do this. So going over to the cotton table, this is what we have. I have my tape, my scissors, and of course my curve, and also you will be needing a chalk or a pencil for this. So I folded my fabric into two. Please, this is a stretchy fabric, so make sure you are placing it according to the stretch. So if you notice, the more stretchy part is on the width of this top. So here will be my top line. I'll just do well to cut it off so that it doesn't confuse you, and I'll be taking all my vertical measurements from there. So the entire length of this my top will be 26 inches. So this would be including 25.5 inches actually, and this is the entire length that I will be needing. So bearing in mind that I'll be hemming it and I'll also be joining it at the shoulder. So I added 1/2 inch for that as well. So let's go over this to make sure I have enough fabric on fold. So how do you know this? You will use the biggest circumference that you have divided by 4. Make sure you have it. So I won't be adding any allowance whatsoever to this because obviously it's a very stretchy fabric. So I'll be measuring exactly what I'll be needing for this top. So like I said before, bear in mind to place everything according to the stretch of your fabric. So these are what we have right now. One will be for the front and the other one will be for the back. So essentially we'll be working on the front first before we move over to the back. So I'll be measuring my across back measurement, which is also my shoulder to shoulder measurement, and for me it is 16 inches. I'll also be adding 1/2 inch to this as sewing allowance, and from there I'll be marking 1 inch, and this will serve as my shoulder slope. So essentially this is 1 inch, and here I'll be measuring 4 inches. Bear in mind that because this is a stretchy fabric, I will not be adding zipper to this. So I want to make sure that my head, the hole for my neckline is enough to pass through my head. So I'll be marking 4 inches by 4 inches for this. You can go ahead and mark it, make it larger if you so desire. So this is what I'll be working with, bearing in mind that I'll also be using 1/2 inch to turn the neckline, making it 4.5 by 4.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and draw my shoulder slope, and this is what we have so far. So from that tip, I'm going to be measuring exactly 9 inches right there, and this will serve as my armhole depth. And on that measurement, I'll also be marking 1/4 of my bust. So I'll first of all draw a straight line to make sure I have a perfect line right there, and on that line I'm going to mark my 1/4 bust measurement. The bust measurement I'm working with is 41, and I divided that by 4. So here I'm going to be dividing that by 2 so that I will do my armhole shaping. This is very essential because we want to eliminate all excesses at this point. So I marked 3/4 inches in, and I'm just going to connect it like so from that shoulder point all the way to the bust measurement on my chest line. So this is what we have so far. Feel free to use freehand if you don't have this curve. So I'll be measuring my waist measurement, and my waist measurement is 18.5 inches. That's my shoulder to waist measurement, and I'll be dividing my waist measurement, that's 32 inches, into 4, and whatever I have I'll be placing it at this point. So this is my waist measurement divided by 4. And for the length of the top, obviously you're going to measure around the circumference where the top will be sitting, and this is the measurement that you'll be dividing by 4, and we'll also be placing it here and this is what we have. So we've gone ahead to place all our horizontal measurements, and we'll be joining everything together with a smooth curve. So once I've gotten that sorted, I'm going to be connecting my waistline to my chest line. So this is what we have so far. So on the length of this top, which is also my hem, I'll be going up by 1 inch. I like to do this because I don't like it to be pointy at that point. So I'll use my curve to make sure I trim off that area. So now that we are done with this, I'm going to cut this out, and I'm also going to use it to cut out my back piece as well. So this is our front pattern, and this is what it looks like. So I'll be bringing in my back as well, and then I'm going to be placing this on it so that it serves as a guide. So make sure you pin down. It was easy for me to do because of practice and all, but make sure you pin this down so that it doesn't move. So here at the armhole, I'm going to be coming out a bit because the back armhole is not supposed to be as deep as the front. So I came out by about 1/4 inch just to make sure that it's not so deep. So I measured it so I could show you. So it's not as deep and shouldn't be as deep as the front. So for the neckline of the back, obviously it can't be as deep as well. So I'm going to measure 1 inch at this point, and then I'm going to use my curve to connect it all the way to the shoulder. So having done this, I'll use my scissors and I'll cut it out. So the back piece is ready, and these are the pieces that we'll be working with for this top. So let's set this aside and let me show you the front, and then we move over to the sleeves. So like I said earlier, make sure you know the direction of your stretch, and make sure the stretchy part is always at you place it in such a way that it becomes the width of your top. So for our armhole, we are going to measure what we have here, bearing in mind that we have 1/2 inch here for joining. So I'm going to be setting that aside, and then I'll measure what I have left. So I have about 10¼ inches for my armhole. Obviously this is going to be ×2 because it's also going to cover the back too. So I've placed my fabric on fold, and I'm just cross-checking to make sure I have enough. So how do you check this? You're going to be measuring your bicep to make sure that you have enough fabric on fold. So remember, we're not going to be adding any allowances to this. So from that line that I just marked, I'll measure 5 inches from that point, and I'll also be measuring 5 inches from this point too. So this is actually an old school method of drafting your sleeve without having to use patterns. So from that point right there, I'm just going to use my curve and connect it all the way to the side, making it curve out a bit as I'm getting to the other side. So you're going to have to eyeball this to make sure that you get this right. So I tried to draw another line, and I felt I liked the other line better, so I'll be using that instead. So I'm going to be measuring what I have on my armhole on the blouse, the one that we measured earlier, which was 10¼ and this is exactly what I marked here, and I made this mark. So I'll be connecting it from that point to the length of this sleeve. So in order to determine the length of this sleeve, I wanted to use the whole fabric, so I divided what I had into 2, and I'm going to be using that for the length. So I measured my bicep and I placed my bicep there, and on the length of this sleeve, I'm going to be measuring it to determine the circumference I'll be placing there. So this is the circumference I'll be placing there as well. So I divided what I got by 2 because this fabric is on fold, and I placed the measurement, and I'm connecting it all the way from that top to the very length of this sleeve. So this is what I have, and I'll be cutting this out quickly. and I'll be needing 2 of this. So I'll be using it to cut this other side as well. I'm just trying to manage this fabric, and I used about 1 yard for this. So I have 2 sleeves now, and I'm going to set this aside. So for the neckline, we'll be turning in the neckline of the front, and of course we'll be turning in that of the back as well. So for us to do that, we'll be needing to cut bias strips. So I'm going to be measuring about 1.5 inches, even though I eventually reduced it to 1 inch. So I measured 1 inch all the way, and I did this so that I could get a straight line. I wanted it to be straight. So after measuring what I needed, I'm going to be using scissors, obviously, to cut this off. So this is what we have, and 2 strips were more than sufficient for me. So for the sleeve, we'll also be we'll be rolling it in rolled hem for the sleeve. I'll show you how I did this. So we'll be turning this, we're going straight to the machine to show you how I did this. So for the neckline, when I started sewing the neckline, because this is a very stretchy fabric. Now the trick is, on this channel we give you tricks, all right? Yeah, we do give you tricks. So I noticed that it wasn't really sewing, so it was leaving holes. You can see the hole that I left here. So I used an old school method of using paper. Yes, that's the trick I used to make this. So if you're making your scuba and your machine is giving you hell, just place it over and sew it like so. It's going to move beautifully, and you wouldn't need to sew this twice. So this is the method I used to sew this whole top. So you can see that it came out perfectly. So I notched this, turned it over, rolled it in, and then I made a stitch on top as well. I know this is stressful, guys, but trust me, it's better than sewing and sewing again. So this was what I did for the whole top. Can you believe that? So I rolled it in, and this is what I have so far. So you can see that this is so beautiful. So I'm also going to do same for the back piece. So this is my back piece right here. I'm going to also be turning in the neckline, and I've turned it in, and this is what it looks like so far. So I'll be placing right side to right side, and I'll be joining it on the shoulder like so, using my 1/2 inch sewing allowance. And I've done that already, and this is what it looks like. And I'm just going to go ahead now and attach sleeve to this. So I'll be working on one sleeve. I'll be showing you how I did one sleeve, and I'll be doing the other one off camera. So this is the sleeve, obviously, that we already cut, and I'm going to be determining where the middle excuse me, the middle part is. So putting it on forward, I'm going to notch this area. I'm doing this so that I can place this on the shoulder line. So that notched part is going to sit on the shoulder line like so. So I'm going ahead with my pins, and I'm going to pin this all the way through to the both sides of the armhole. So now that I've done this, I'm also going in with my paper, and I'm just going to stitch this down as fast as possible. So this is what we have at the end of the day, and the next step is to roll in the length of this. But I wanted to attach this off camera, and I did it already. So I'll be rolling in the hem of the sleeve, obviously, to conceal that part. So I'll do this quickly and do that to the other sleeve as well. So since I've gotten this sorted out, obviously you're going to do it to the other sleeve as well. You will now fold it in like so, and we'll be using 1/2 inch. You can use 1/2 inch to 1 inch depending on how fitted you want this to be. Remember, we didn't add any form of allowances to this just because it's stretchy. So but I'll be using 1/2 inch to attach it together. So I'll be taking 1/2 inch all the way down. And I'll be doing same to the other side as well. Now this is what we have, of course, and let me quickly do this on the other side and come here. So for here, the hem of this blouse, we'll be folding it in. Of course, we'll be hemming it. We'll be using rolled hem for this, and you can obviously also use your bias strip if you like. Well, I just felt like doing this and it turned out beautifully. So this was what I did, and then this was before I now sealed the other side of the top completely. So I like to do this so that it's easier for me, to be honest. So now that I've gotten this sorted, I will now go ahead to complete the other side of this blouse. And I've done it already, and I'll be showing you how this looks. So it looks so neat, so beautiful, so flat. So we're going to be doing a trial. Let's see how this looks on me. I hope you liked this tutorial. I hope you try this out. Remember that if you're using Ankara to sew this, you would obviously need to add zipper allowance to this. So this is how it looks, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you've not subscribed, kindly subscribe to my channel. I post new videos weekly. Love you for watching. Bye.